Mr. Boyd.
His is the worst voice you will ever hear.
Will he offer me his teeth?
The Tommy Boyds Show will teach you nothing. Nothing.
Always read the label.
Nothing but iniquity and wickedness.
If you really bug me, then I'll say goodbye.
We turn our attention between now and 4:45 to the ever-present question of law and order. A pressing issue in everyone's lives. Free call 0500 10 53 89. And we have a proposition. But to background it, I think we're all agreed. Our police generally do a difficult job very well. But their work is cut out with Super League crime. Our police officers are dedicated to dealing with the bank robbers and the drug dealers and the art fraudsters who we generally want to see on the inside. Or do we? Whenever I find myself watching a movie in which somebody's doing a jewel heist, a big part of me wants them to get away with it. But nevertheless, if we do find ourselves shopped by a copper for double parking, we do tend to want to say to them, why aren't you off hunting down the real criminals? And I'm sure our police officers would be the first to say that that is what they themselves prefer to do, but the fact of the matter is that it's small crime in this country which upsets more people than major crime. Yes, banks are robbed. Yes, drug dealing goes on. Yes, art fraudsters are operating. But the crime that drives us all to distraction are, if you like, the category C crimes. People who wantonly litter and throw cigarette streets in the shopping malls, benefit fraudsters, underage drinkers, youngsters who use foul language just loud enough so that we hear, people who sometimes encourage their dogs to foul the footpaths. These are the things which actually matter to us. And yet they are the things which surely ought not detain our fully adult boys and girls in blue. And I'm grateful to a caller who called during the news to suggest that if we call our male police officers Bill, perhaps we should call our female police officers Monica. As in White House, etc., etc. But I digress. Our police officers should be turning their attention to major crime. And it shouldn't be their lot to spot and report perpetrators of petty crime. And let's face it, littering, parking badly, speeding in a built-up area, driving with no seatbelt, cycling crime, such as cycling on the pavement or pushing your bicycle through a red light as though it doesn't actually apply to you, bringing your video back to the hire shop 3 days late, and this ever-present, in my life at least, bad language used habitually by people usually with pierced something or others, aged about 19, especially on trains. We can't seriously expect our police force to be around and to want to be detained by dealing with crimes of this nature. But, and this is where we get objective, and this is the proposition I'd like to think about, if you would be so kind, this afternoon between 4 and 4:45. We do have the people who can do the job. They are ready. They are disciplined. They are trained, and they are in uniform. And they are the Boys Brigade. Free call 0500 10 53 89. And they're Christians, so they'll not make stuff up. Give them a disposable camera. Give them a dictaphone. Give them a bugle, so that if there are any problems when they're taking a photograph of someone who is committing a petty crime, or recording the sounds of someone who is creating a petty disturbance, if there is a problem whilst they're going about their lawful duty, they can blow on their bugle and summon aid. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Look, just about every secondary school that's worth its salt, they employ the prefect system, and it works. Youngsters do know how to look out for youngsters who are not behaving themselves as they should do in the school. I'm not suggesting, though, that the Boys Brigade, if they are attached to our police force as a kind of a national cadet force should confine their spying and snooping just to the youngsters of Britain, but to the adults in Britain as well, who think nothing of dropping a cellophane fag packet wrapper on the floor prior to lighting up. The question is just how broad should the scope of their inquiries be, our junior cadet force, the Boys Brigade? Would you let them go so far as to operate as private detectives and spy on people's wives? Free call 0500 10 53 89. Don't misunderstand me when I say this. In no way was Hitler anything other but the 20th century's most terrible tyrant. But, as an idea, the Hitler Youth was not all bad. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. We would be very interested in getting the professional's viewpoint on this issue. And we will, however, protect the identity of any police officers who wish to comment, for obvious reasons. So our first caller to this part of the programme, we will call Plod, who's calling from Warwickshire. Plod, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
You're a police officer.
I am, yes.
What do you think of the idea?
I don't really see how the Boys Brigade would be any different. I mean, how would you implement it to be any different?
Well, there's more of them for a start.
Right. How many of them are there? Do you know?
There are hundreds of thousands of youngsters aged between 14 and 17.
Yeah.
Now, if we were able to recruit them to help you...
Yeah.
By relieving you of your responsibility to spot, say, litter louts...
Right.
Because you don't seem to be doing much about that.
Right. How would they do that? You say by giving them a camera, a dictaphone and a bugle?
Yes.
Right, okay. And what would the process then be after they'd done that? How would we process the
well, if we knew that the youngster in uniform, wearing a lanyard, and they already wear royal blue like you lot.
Right.
Okay, so you know, they'd stand out. We'd know they were there.
Yeah.
And they have that little sort of naval hat on.
Yeah.
We know who they are. Okay?
Right.
Their very presence is going to make people think twice about dropping fag ends, for example, or letting their dog do its business on the pavement.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then what would happen? What would they actually do about it? Just there as a preventative measure?
Yes, in the first place, there would be a deterrent, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But in the second place, they would have a disposable camera.
Right.
And if they did see somebody littering or letting their dog foul the footpath, well, they've got that photograph, haven't they?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is fundamentally a very good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I phoned up, not necessarily to make a point about the Boys Brigade, but I sort of phoned up before you mentioned that point. But obviously, I'm just sort of answering your questions about what my opinion is there. Is it all right for me to make a point about the police force in general?
Well, you're more than welcome.
Thanks. What I wanted to say was, just in answer to the point of what crime we should actually be dealing with, there's 7,000 of us in the West Midlands Police, and there's sort of a hierarchy that's within the police, whereas you join the police, you do your 2 years probation, and then if you want to branch out into other departments, you can. Now, when you first join, the first couple of months, you will be dealing with basic crime, just so you can learn the procedures, to deal with...
Nobody ever deals with dogs fouling the footpaths.
Right.
Do you? You don't. And who do we turn to? We can't ask a traffic warden. Who do we turn to when we see dogs doing their business?
Right, well, I'm actually a beat officer.
Have you ever arrested anybody for letting their dog do its business?
It's not an arrestable offence, but I've never prosecuted anyone for it either, no.
No, you turn a blind eye, don't you? You pretend you didn't see it.
I have arrested someone for dropping litter, though.
Good for you.
Because we can use what's called Section 25. It's an actual offence that they've committed. And there's certain criteria why we can arrest them, and one of them is if they don't provide their details so that you can report them for process, and so they can then be arrested. But what I'm saying
I don't think you should come on the radio. I don't think it's very responsible to come on the radio and say that there's nothing wrong with people allowing their dogs to foul the footpath.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, I'm sorry, but you have just given an awful lot of ne'er-do-wells license to carry on.
Right, no, I didn't say there's nothing wrong with it. I said I haven't actually...
You said there isn't a law against it.
No, I said it isn't an arrestable offence.
Ah.
That's different. As you know, there's certain arrestable offences, and then there's other offences that we can report people for so that they can be reported for summons.
But, you know, these are the things that we want sorted out.
Yeah.
We being the man in the street who pay your wages.
Right, okay. And well, we go to a lot of meetings. I'm actually a beat officer. We go to a lot of meetings. I'm responsible for probably just a square mile of Coventry. Not myself, me and 3 other officers. That is our sole responsibility. That is what our job is about. And we have to go to meetings and people tell us what they want us to do, and then we try and do it the best we can, and then we get the people who say, haven't you got anything better to do?
But they're the people who go to meetings. The general public don't go to meetings.
I know, but how are they going to speak to us else? They can come up and approach us in the street, but...
They're too busy to go to meetings and tell you who you ought to be arresting.
Well, then we've got a wide scope of things we need to deal with.
We're not bothered about bank robbers. We say jolly good luck to them as long as they don't hurt anybody. That's what we say.
Yeah, okay.
That's what the public say.
Right, okay.
We do.
The CID deal with those, and the beat officers deal with the smaller crime and the volume crime on those areas.
Have you ever arrested anybody for going through a red light on a bicycle?
No, you can't arrest someone, but I did tell them.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
What for?
For going through a red light.
It's not an arrestable offence.
Of course it is.
Of course it isn't.
Of course it is.
It is not.
Well, I'll remember that on my drive home. Can I quote you tonight? What? Are you saying that people can drive through a red light now? This is new to me.
It's an offence.
Yes.
For which they can be reported or given a fixed penalty.
Have you ever reported anybody for riding a bicycle through a red light?
No, but I have told them off.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, and they'll never do it again, as you can well imagine.
Oh, you're that fierce, are you?
Yeah.
How tall are you?
5'10".
Oh, well, fair enough. But you see my point.
I do see your point, yeah, but...
These are the things that worry us. And,
yeah.
And children on skateboards in the Arndale Centre, you know.
Yeah, we're caught
whizzing
between the
round
devil and the deep blue sea as to what people want us to do, and it's a difficult line.
We think that what you need is some support. We think you need some grassroots support. And we think that the Boys Brigade, for example, are trained, they are ready, they are disciplined, they are uncorruptible, they're Christians, they love the job.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. And whilst you're supplying them with a camera, supply us with a camera and dictaphone as well.
Do you like that idea?
Yeah, that's brilliant, because we're accused of lying all the time.
Yeah.
And I've been in the job 5.5 years now. I've never seen anyone fitted up for anything, beaten up, or arrested because they're black, blue, or yellow.
Not even in Coventry.
Not even in Coventry, believe it or not. And I swear that's the truth. And if we had, say, a camcorder, a camera, a dictaphone. A lot of the criminals are carrying dictaphones now just to make sure. I'd be quite happy with that.
Are they really?
They are.
Are they really? What? So criminals now carry dictaphones, so that they can record what you say to them?
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly, you're saying now. Listen, I've enjoyed your call, Plod. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Tommy, I told you the meaning of Pelican Crossing the other day, and you didn't seem very interested. I was very disappointed.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Plod in Warwickshire, a police officer in Coventry, who supports the idea of enrolling the assistance of the Boys Brigade, who will have not the power of arrest, but the power to report disposable cameras, dictaphones, and a bugle to summon aid if they get into difficulty. The power to report perpetrators of Category C crimes, if you like. And that's our definition, Category C crimes. Those crimes which are so small that police officers will never get round to doing very much about them, but they are the things that drive us nuts, don't they? Absolutely nuts. People playing extremely loud music in their escorts. People who bicycle on the pavement, or bicycle through red lights because they don't think it applies to them. Well, it does. People who don't do their seatbelts up. People who let children wander around the back seats of their car when they're doing 30 and 40 miles an hour on the dual carriageway. People who speed. People who speed at the moment are deterred by speed cameras. So what's wrong with the idea of a Boys Brigade youngster standing at traffic lights with a disposable camera taking photographs of anybody he feels might be speeding? And if the photograph is sufficiently blurred, it might act as some kind of evidence. Why not? Free call 0500 10 53 89. I saw a copper on the platform of one of the stations we went through on my way into Talk Radio, and I immediately behaved myself even more than I was. And you do that as well. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We need some boys in blue who are boys in blue. Law and order this afternoon between now and 4:45. Our police do a difficult job and they do it well, but they've got their work cut out dealing with Category A crime like bank robbers and drug dealers, and yet it's Category C crime that we really care about. So why don't we enlist the assistance of a group of people who are ready and willing and able to do the job? They are disciplined, they are trained, they're in uniform, they're Christians, so they'll definitely not make stuff up. I'm talking about the Boys Brigade. Give them a disposable camera, a dictaphone and a bugle. Graham calls from Oxford. You're on Talk Radio. Graham, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tommy.
So,
I think there's one main issue that you're ignoring here. Corruption.
corruption.
Yeah, now you said before when you were speaking to Plod that the Boys Brigade were incorruptible. Now, I'm not a veteran of the Boys Brigade. I was at one time a Cub Scout. I was a Sixer, in fact, a position of quite high responsibility and respect. However, not stop me from falsifying my evidence to gain merit badges. Now, if this system is employed in the Boys Brigade, what's to stop that happening again?
There's a fundamental flaw in your difficulty with this proposition, Graham, which is that the Scouts are not a Christian organisation, whereas the Boys Brigade are.
Right, I see.
Yes.
So, you're basing this whole argument then on the fact that all religious members of any organisation are completely trustworthy.
No, I think we're basing this argument on the fact that our police officers do need some help.
They do indeed, and fundamentally it's a good idea. I'd just like to know how we get around this issue of corruption, Tommy.
Well, just because you're corrupt doesn't mean to say everybody else is. I was in the Boys Brigade and there was never a whiff of scandal.
And never a whiff of scandal when you... Well, maybe not in the Boys Brigade unit you were attached to, Tommy. I'm sure it was one of a very high standing in the local community.
It was the second Feltham, man. We were hard as nails.
I can imagine you were.
Hard as nails and twice as sharp. We were ready to do the job.
Begrudge against someone, they'd like to lean on him, they want him to falsify some evidence, they want to get this friend, so to speak, or enemy as it would be, into trouble. Don't you see a problem there?
Let's ask Terry, who calls from Bristol. And Terry, I understand that you are somebody who is willing and able, and this is a job that you would do. How old are you, Terry?
I'm 15, Tommy.
And you're ready for this role?
Yeah. I go to a private school in Bristol. We do have prefects there. They do a fantastic job, you know. The thing is, it amazes me, we do take probably more notice of the prefects than we do of the actual teachers, you know, that tell us what to do.
Now, why is that? Is that because...
I think it's because, I think we know most of them. Yeah, we're friends with some of them, so we're going to do what they want us to do. It's kind of, I think they're a better person, to tell you what to do. That kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Okay, so what we're effectively doing is suggesting that we extend the system of prefects beyond schools.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're out and about and you see a Boys Brigade youngster, okay?
Yeah.
All right, you'll behave yourself.
Yeah, most probably, yeah, probably, definitely. Probably much more than I would if it was just,
At the age of 15. But knowing what you know, and you're obviously a bright person, knowing what you know about adults in this country, do you think they could be persuaded to behave themselves better if there was a youngster from the Boys Brigade with a disposable camera in his hand nearby, and they're thinking about getting rid of some litter or letting the dog relieve itself?
Yeah.
They would?
Definitely. Most definitely. I agree with you completely because,
would you want paying?
Well, I think, no, it wouldn't be done if maybe they weren't getting a pay, but not, nothing too big, a decent pay. Maybe some people do it voluntary.
What sort of weapons would you want?
Have you got any thoughts on that?
A big stick?
Well, possibly, yeah, but I think something maybe a bit less violent, maybe, because they're coming up with some ingenious ideas now. You've got the gas and all that kind of thing. That are less harmful and won't leave lasting effects. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, Robert, stay with us, Terry, if you would.
Okay.
Because Robert has called from Paisley, and he wants to talk to you a little bit further about your interest in this idea. Robert in Paisley, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Robert, you're through to Terry in Bristol.
Yeah, Terry, I was wondering, who would clean up after the police horses and the police dogs? Would you be willing to do that? Who watches those people?
Well, who says there's,
Well, we would be messing as well. Would you be willing to give them a telling off and clean up after them as well?
Well, it won't be just the Boys Brigade. There'll still be adults in the job, and we'll be paid to do that.
And would you take the girl guides? Would they have a role in this as well, along with you?
No, I'd stick to just the Boys Brigade.
Yeah,
Why no girl guides?
This is man's work, Robert.
It's man's work,
Yeah.
as you said, Tommy.
That's Tommy talking.
It is, yes, it's man's
Well,
work,
that's
Robert.
a bit sexist, that, Tommy.
And you don't really get police horses anymore, Robert. I don't know, you've been in...
Of course you do, Tommy. What all the football matches?
No, you don't. You've been in too long, Robert.
No, Tommy,
Yes.
football matches every Saturday, hundreds of them, police are there.
Yes. Terry, once again, thanks for going along with the idea.
Okay, Tommy.
And I'm sure it's a job that you would do well.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for your call.
All right then, see ya. Bye.
Kaylee calls now from Accrington. Kaylee, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tommy.
Kaylee.
The Boys Brigade should take over certain jobs of the police force, just like St John's Ambulance takes over certain jobs of our ambulance.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, it's just the same. It's like if you go down Blackpool Promenade when the lights are on, every 500 yards you'll see a couple of coppers. They could be over the other side of Blackpool sorting out everybody else that are doing robberies or whatever. Why can't the Boys Brigade sit on Blackpool Promenade and do their job for them?
We're not expecting them to make arrests. We're not expecting them to confront any wrongdoers that they see.
No, but I mean, it's like when the police are mainly there. Like, one policeman said to me when I was going down, can you put your seatbelt on? I mean, anybody that goes there on lights, they know the kids are hanging out the roofs, out the windows. They want to see the lights. You can't see it in the back of the car. So, I mean, the police are there to enforce things like putting your seatbelt on. You can't go very fast. I mean, the majority of time sat there in queues of traffic all day. Why can't Boys Brigade
You think
do
it's a
it?
good idea and it could work?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, the only difficulty I have with the idea is that the only people who've actually tried this were the Nazis. And they get a lot of bad press, quite justifiably.
Yeah, but you're talking about a different country and a different way of life and everything here,
But
aren't
they employed what were called the Hitler Youth in much the same way that a number of callers to this show have suggested they would like to see the Boys Brigade being used in this country.
But why can't you just use them like you use St John's Ambulance, like for places like football matches? Well, maybe football matches, yeah, you'd have to have the adult backup. But things like I said, the promenade. I mean, very little goes on it. They are really just making sure that you've got things like your seatbelt on, that you're not leaving your car in the middle of the street to pop across the road for a drink or whatever.
I'm grateful for your call. I just have to clear one thing up very quickly. You're in no way suggesting that the St John's Ambulance has anything in common with the Hitler Youth.
No, not at all.
No. Thanks for your call.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Plod's on the line from Norfolk, another police officer who wishes to remain anonymous. So that, is it a he or a she? Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tommy.
Plod, it's a she.
It's a he, actually.
I'm very sorry.
That's okay.
Is able to speak his mind. Plod, good afternoon. Thank you for calling Talk Radio.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me come on. I've recently actually just retired as a serving special constable with a force. My point is that having done quite a number of years as a serving police officer, I say that because many people don't realise that special constables hold all police powers. It's quite a myth these days that people don't understand that special constables can perform arrests and most other types of police work. It appears to me that they're a very ill-motivated force. That's not a sour comment. It's something born out of having done the job, and the respect isn't there from the force themselves, let alone the general public. And if you're talking about initiating a third tier of policing, i.e. the Boys Brigade, another volunteer force, I would suggest the respect wouldn't be there again, and the powers even less, because minors, and we're talking about minors, would have no powers whatsoever. And I think they'd be open to ridicule and abuse from the thug element of society.
Okay. Let's take your points one by one.
Okay.
Possibly beginning with the last one.
Okay.
If a thug wants to have a go at a Boys Brigade youngster,
yeah.
Well, he can do that now, can't he?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
However, if we appoint them as an official police cadet force,
yeah.
Well, he'll be picking on an entirely different section of society, won't he?
Yes, he will. But
so the deterrent there, right?
Yeah.
Will be significantly greater.
In what way?
Well, because he'll be picking on a police officer.
Well, he won't be a police officer, will he? You can't be a police officer until you're 18 and a half.
Well, obviously we've got to make some changes in order to accommodate this idea, haven't we? Haven't we? Look, it works in schools. Why shouldn't it work in wider society?
Well, okay. If you're suggesting it'd be a sort of a civilian prefect, if you like, or society prefect, in theory, yeah, I think the ideal is good.
Yeah.
The reality would be totally. It'd be impossible to effect. And
So when you were a special plod, you didn't deal with the crimes that we wanted you to deal with.
Well, in actual fact, I did. I'm not the martyr, but I actually used to spend more of my time dealing with the very minor offences than I did with I've actually been on murders and as major crime as you can imagine. I've been assaulted, I've been to court, I've made arrests, I've done all the things a general police officer would always do. But I would actually, I was classed as a beat officer as well, as one of your previous callers classed themselves, and I actually took more interest in litter, in dog fouling, in general misbehaviour, children congregating in public areas causing a nuisance, and I used to see that as a more useful role to play than actually going along and checking people's tax discs, and so I used to concentrate more on that, and so did many of the specials in that area.
So since you recognise that this is a more important area of crime than bank robbery, what would you do?
I would suggest that on a daily basis that there is more dog fouling, litter dropping and general bad behaviour going on than there ever is bank robberies.
Yeah, we know that, but what are we going to do about it? Because coppers these days have seen too many episodes of the Sweeney, haven't they?
It's generally accepted that most police officers and in most police forces are overworked and there aren't enough of them, and I can back that up. That's very true. I would say that the time has come for a two-tier police force. I think there ought to be the very professional, full, the regular police force who are paid and who are very professional at what they do. And then I think that there will be a second tier of policing, which is the bobby, if you like, the bobby on the beat, not the guys rolling around in the cars with the lights on.
They're going to want paying, aren't they?
I think this is the problem. The problem, you're ahead of me, and I think one of the problems is, and I can speak from experience, it's a double-edged problem. The regular force will always and always have done by history resented the special constabulary because they feel that in some way they are doing them out of overtime and bibs and bobs, and that is a fallacy.
Oh, don't you go on. Roy calls from Salisbury. You're on Talk Radio. Roy, good afternoon. God, dear.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that the special constabulary would gain more respect within.
Oh, dear me. Shut up. Honestly.
I know, but you did ask.
Oh, go away! Roy calls now from Salisbury. Roy, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
How are you?
Right, I'm fine.
I agree that the police do need some help, but I don't agree with the Boys Brigade at all. When I first left school, I had a job for a brief while with British Rail, and we had some Boys Brigade, like 20 of them came over from the Isle of Wight.
Yes.
What happened was they pushed a trolley onto the track. They were all drunk. They were vomiting everywhere.
No.
They were terrible.
I won't have this. These weren't Boys Brigade members.
They were definitely Boys Brigade members, yes.
Are you sure they weren't Sea Scouts?
No, they weren't. No, they were definitely Boys Brigade members.
How can you tell the difference at a glance between a Sea Scout and a member of the Boys Brigade?
Because two of them were actually prosecuted and went to court, and they definitely were Boys Brigade members. I don't think these people should be looking after our streets and people.
Well, police officers like a drink from time to time, don't they?
What you were talking about earlier about the old people, I think maybe you should get some of those on the streets helping out the police. If I had my nan clipping me around here, I don't think I'd do anything.
Possibly. I'm not sure they've got the vision for the job. Last word on this one goes to David, who's calling from Falmouth. David, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Tommy. How are you?
Sir, I'm well, thank you.
Oh, very nice indeed. But, Tommy, yes, I'd like to see something on the Hitler Youth Movement.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sort of a military approach to young people, the Boys Brigade. Militarise it, make it more of a military parades and so on, so that everyone can see what exactly we've got with a nice, smart uniform. And then these youngsters, as you say, with a radio, they can then walk in pairs in different parts of the cities and towns and report back what they see,
David,
such as litter and things like that.
I'm grateful for your support on that one. And since we're talking about the Hitler Youth, there's a train you can take to Brighton from London.
Yes.
And the woman who serves in the buffet on that train, I got talking to one day, and she told me that back in 1944, she was a member of the Hitler Youth.
Well.
I know. But I said to her, what did you do? It was fascinating talking to somebody from history. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And I said to her, well, what sort of things did you do? And she said, well, we used to meet in a hut, everybody from the village, on a Wednesday evening. And we would sing nationalistic songs.
Yes.
For about 2 hours.
Yes.
She said, and the thing was, she said, we had to give the Hitler salute whilst we were singing these songs, but because we were Hitler Youth, if anybody's arm got tired, they were allowed to support it with their other arm.
Well.
I know.
Yes, fancy that. But it would be a great sparkle for this country, I think.
Yes.
To have a youth movement. It would bring lots of youngsters in line.
Yes.
It would be on the Brigade of Guards basis, if you like. Something smart and military, with a nice military band where they can parade and so on. I think that would be something all nice for us all.
Yes. You're not a bit of a fascist down there in Falmouth, are you?
Well, not really, Tommy, no.
Just like
not really, my dear friend. But
thank you for your call.
Thank you very much.
What a nice man. Next, we turn our attention to another transport issue. I wonder if you can answer this question. Am I the only person in Britain who is not happy with his horn?
Doorstep to door.
Modern car is the very epitome of the modern world. It's got gizmos on its gizmos, hasn't it? There's not one thing on the modern motor vehicle that hasn't been brought kicking and screaming into the 22nd century. Why, you can even determine the temperature of your bottom whilst you're listening to the pre-selected bass volume of whichever CD band it is. But if there's somebody steps out in front of you and you need to let them know that you're coming along, all you can do is do what Grandad did. You can go, and it's not good enough, is it? Free call 0500 10 53 89. It really is the most archaic feature, not only on your car, but on the road. Ice cream vans get it right. We need a range of noises we can make. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I hope this doesn't sound flippant. I have never, ever been more deadly serious in all my 27 years in broadcasting. Ice cream vans sound glorious. And you know exactly what the noise they make means. And ditto police cars and ditto fire engines, obviously. But do you know what B means when you're in your car driving along safely? No. It means that somebody has tooted their horn. That's all you know. You don't know that it means, will you please get out of my way? You don't know that it might mean that they're trying to attract the attention of somebody they haven't seen for a couple of weeks, who they happen to be passing on the pavement. These horns are archaic. I think they're dangerous. We really need to pressurize motor manufacturers to think about bringing the motor horn up to date. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It will be the easiest thing in the world to fit a car with a range of motor horns. One that, for example, says clearly from the sound that it makes, goodbye and thanks for a lovely party. I know it's 1 a.m., but your neighbours won't mind if I just give you a little tootle. That's one use of the horn, isn't it? And we need a horn which clearly says, I'm here to pick you up, but I'm too lazy to come up the path, so I'll sit here and wait until you come out. That is another perfectly legitimate use of the horn. But how do you know that that's what the horn means? We need a horn that says, hello, it's me, I haven't seen you for ages. We need a tootle that says, come along, what's keeping you? The lights changed to green ages ago. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Am I the only person in Britain who is not happy with his horn? I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. I mean, if you're happy with your horn, then you will know the difference between beep, 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 beep and beep, beep. Those are two totally different messages. But what do each of them mean? Free call 0500 10 53 89. Dom calls from North London. Dom, you're on Talk Radio.
Tommy,
Dom.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you.
Not so much with the messages thing, but so many horns. Like you say, they should be in the 22nd century, but they're not aggressive enough, are they?
Some of them aren't.
You get really twinky, like and you know, you do a lot of driving. You're out on the road, and somebody annoys you, and you want a nice rasping.
You do.
You want a good aggressive horn, and you know, you think now we can put a man on the moon, but we can't make an aggressive horn.
Shall I tell you how feeble our horns are? You know when a pigeon stays in the road, even though you're only about 20 yards from him?
Absolutely.
You go bib bib, and what does he do? Nothing.
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 And they're timid animals. They should be frightened, and they're not even frightened of the horn.
Yeah. Supposing we had a range of sound effects in the car.
Brilliant.
A 12-bore shotgun for that pigeon.
Yeah.
Just a sound effect.
That's it.
But it would make the road a safer place.
It would indeed. And I think then you could, as you say, with different effects, you can convey different messages.
Exactly.
I'm slightly annoyed. I'm really, really annoyed. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more.
Dom, thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It's not that long ago that boy racers were able to equip their cars with Okay, it was annoying, but at least it gave them a range of messages. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Can you buy a car with a PA system, a little loudspeaker on the top, so that you can actually say what's on your mind to the car in front or that pedestrian? Jason calls from Somerset. Jason, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy. Bring back the old Dixie horns.
How did they go?
That's the ones from the Dukes of Hazzard. You know, the diddle-diddle-diddle-diddle-diddle.
Oh, yeah. 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 I mean, well, do you use those in conjunction with Toot Toot?
No, just have those ones.
Well, what message do they convey?
Look out, here I come.
Apart from the fact that you're...
If they can't hear that, then, well, tough luck, innit?
Apart from the fact that you're in on a Saturday afternoon when you should be out at a football match or something, Jason. Sad, really, isn't it, that you've seen the Dukes of Hazzard and you remember them so fondly?
Well, there you go.
Come on.
There was nothing wrong with Daisy.
Are you in a car?
In a lorry, actually.
Are you in a lorry? Are you allowed to give me a toot just so that we can hear how you toot?
Well, these aren't Dixie horns, but I've got train horns on this one.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Have you really?
Yep.
Well,
on the window down
bearing in mind that you'll be the one who's arrested if it is an arrestable offence, and I believe you're supposed to sort of use them sensibly, aren't you?
Well, I'm off the road at the moment, so...
Oh, give us a blast. Go on, then. We'll risk We'll risk prison.
Right.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I'd love that on my Renault.
It'd be magic, wouldn't it?
Alan calls now from North London. Alan, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tommy. Weren't those horns lovely then? Absolutely fabulous.
Gorgeous.
Tommy, I used to have an old Cortina. The horn on it wasn't particularly good anyway. I had them replaced by a garage. What they replaced them with was just as bad. It went, but they put them at the front of the car facing upwards, the actual bells, and whenever it rained, they always seeped in water, and it always went, and you could hardly hear it if you were standing right outside the car.
It's no good, is it?
Absolutely ridiculous. And yet it passed the MOT on many occasions.
You can tell how feeble we are as a race as well about how we use our horn, because the term for using your horn in this country, it pretty much nationwide, is bibbing.
Yeah, beep, beep, beep.
What good's that?
No good. Hello, here I come.
You're doing 70 miles an hour quite legitimately, and all of a sudden a little old lady steps out in front of you and you go, beep. It's not on, is it?
Pathetic.
In other countries they hoot, park, and honk. But we bib.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. It's Street Beat Symphony with DHL Worldwide Express. Am I the only person in Britain who is not happy with his horn? Clearly not. Nick calls from Wimbledon. You're on Talk Radio. Nick.
Hello, Tom. How are you?
Nick boy.
I'm not happy with my horn, but then, it's the bureaucrats that have done it.
Yeah.
You can actually have these musical horns that the lorry driver was telling you about, but only if you have a pre-1973 vehicle.
Right.
There'd be nothing better than sort of everyone going along and seeing some old crumbly crossing the road and getting in the way and sort of giving it a bit of the old Dixie, would it? I mean, that would just brighten up everyone's day, really.
Well, nice tune. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it, that you can buy much more interesting doorbells than car horns.
Yeah, but see, that's the government and the bureaucracy for you see. It's the way that they, the way they think.
I was in New York. I'd gone to New York as a football coach donkeys years ago. And I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning in my hotel in Manhattan. And all I could hear was an orchestra, Nick, of car horns, and it was glorious.
Yes, but, I mean, obviously it kept you awake.
But it was a beautiful sound. I didn't mind. It was that beautiful noise that Neil Diamond sang about, echoing along Fifth Avenue. Beep, beep, pop, beep, 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 pop, 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 beep, 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 beep. Beautiful.
Yes, well, I mean, perhaps, they should have, like, the lorry driver with his train horn. Perhaps that should be a standing fitted on all cars, and it will say to people, I'm coming, get out of the way. Or failing that, get a nice big ball bar.
Yes. Phil calls now from West London. Phil, you're on Talk Radio. Welcome.
All right, brilliant idea. I'm going to see if this is going to work. Are you ready?
Okay.
Now, that's the glorified shed alarm. And it's just set off by a certain amount of movement. And it means I'm warned if somebody walks in. And the thing can be reversed, have it on the front of the car.
Yes.
So if anybody gets in your way, it automatically emits the warning instead of fumbling around trying to find where on earth the bibber button is, which after 4 years of owning my car, I still can't find it properly.
Same here. They've got a little bugle, haven't they, on it?
Yeah, we just got these little sort of buttons on the front of the steering wheel. By the time you found it...
That dog is history.
You've mown them down.
Exactly.
You want an automatic musical system.
Yes. Yes, I mean, I'm sure in years to come they will have developed a device which will identify whoever or...
It's gone off again.
There's probably somebody in your shed.
Yes, it's my son. How about that? See how effective it is?
Well, what's he doing in your shed?
Well, a bit of work.
Well, are you sure?
Well, not at the moment. I'm talking to you.
If the alarm's gone off, you ought to find out what your son is doing in the shed.
I think I'll do that right now.
I would if I were you. Where do you keep your magazines?
All the best.
What?
Pardon?
What? Free call. Sorry. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Dave calls from Cardiff. You're on Talk Radio, Dave. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello, Dave.
I think you're completely ridiculous.
Why?
Because I think I think you've actually fell off your trolley this time with this one. I think it's ridiculous.
Explain.
Well, you already got car radios, ambulance noises, police sirens, fire engines, car alarms, household alarms, and now you want about another type of alarm.
Yes, I'm concerned about road safety, Dave. I'm concerned about you when you totter off the pavement.
Well, people already, you've told me before, people already put Pippi on for a neat little thing.
So would you ban ice cream vans then?
Well, that's another one to list, isn't it?
Oh, you don't like ice cream vans?
Well, I mean, I'm not bothered about that, really. But
Why not?
You've already got it on your list, haven't you?
But why aren't you bothered about ice cream vans? Because...
What? Because it attracts to children. It's got a job to do, that's why. That's different.
Oh, right. And saving people's lives is what, a hobby?
No.
Sue calls from Hampshire. Sue, you get the last word on this one.
Hello, Tommy. I think everybody should be able to have a tune on their car.
Yes.
You could play things, if you fancied a young lady, you could be playing The Stripper as you came up the street, or
yes, I do.
I Can't Get No Satisfaction, and all this kind of thing. And, if you're having a very sort of a serene day, you could be having a hymn coming along the road.
Not happy with my horn. Perhaps I Can't Get No Satisfaction is the one for me.
Would you like that, or Tired of Waiting for You, or, as you went round the corner chasing a particular, young gentleman or lady? It's endless, isn't it?
DHL Worldwide Express, delivering across the planet.
It's 3 o'clock tomorrow. Here's Peter Daly.
Eyewitness travel. I am swooping down over the Firewood area of Greater Manchester, where you got problems actually the M61 motorway, junction 4 on towards...
Stand by for Peter Daly and Britain's fastest moving drive time. I look forward to talking with you from 2 tomorrow. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.